All right, Crawford, all you gotta do, hit this putt and everyone's buying you a blizzard. Game on. Come on! How you doing today, TJ? You having a good one?
So catch me if I fall.
What is up, YouTube fam? Robbie C here. Sometimes when you are out on the course, whether you're playing competitive tournaments or you're just playing with friends, at the end of the day, we all kind of want one thing, and that is to be the real Ash Ketchum, to be the very best, like no one ever was. Now, to catch the birdies is our real test, but I want to train you because that's my cause. Formulating thoughts. I have to think about it a lot more to pack it in, so I can't ramble. Now, the easy answer on how to beat your friends more consistently in disc golf is just simply to be better. But I want to give you 5 tips that I believe if you start applying each and every one of these tips to your rounds and to your disc golf game, I think you're going to see dramatic improvements as well as truly become a better overall disc golfer. So let's jump into tip number 1. Tip 1 is extremely straightforward, and that is that you need to play for par. Not every single hole that you step up to needs to be a birdie hole. I would say if you are a recreational player, even when you're playing pitch and putt courses, playing every single hole for a birdie is only going to set you up for bad situations and really crush your mental when you don't walk away with an 18 under par. My favorite adaptation of this, if you want to be the person pressing for birdies, is the attack hole strategy, where you're going to pick 5 to 6 holes on a course that you really want to press for birdie. Now, an important part about selecting those holes is that your pressing for a birdie should not bring a bogey majorly into play. Because our sport is not near as difficult as golf, a lot of holes can feel super attainable, but in pushing them and playing for that birdie, we often bring bogey into play. And if we can just ride the neutral level, most amateurs that are out there in the world, even if they're playing some easier courses, are going to bring more bogeys to the table than birdies. So let's look at a hole as an example. Hole 7 is 375 feet and it's just out there. Now, when they first put in the course, this was a par 4, which means that it would definitely, as a par 4, be a hole that I want to attack as a birdie hole, because I can simply throw a 200-foot shot and then a 200-foot shot, and bada boom, bada bing, I'm next to the basket. But they've since come around and changed it back to a par 3, which I think is actually legit. Now, my play to get the birdie, to try to get all the way down there, is that I have to push something really aggressively down the hole, with trouble being on the left and death being on the right. And we're certainly not looking to die while we're playing our disc golf rounds. So if I was trying to attack this hole, I could bring bogeys into play. Let's see if I give it another run, trying to be even more cautious. Yeah, see, trying to yam on a disc makes me have a miss opportunity, and therefore I'm gonna struggle to even save the par from over there. However, if I simply want to play this for par, I can very casually step out here, throw a nice chip shot in the middle of the fairway, and then from the middle of the fairway, just throw a nice, simple upshot, and boom, I'm right next to the basket, which is way better than dealing with this. Yeah. Playing for par is always going to be a solid option, as it doesn't move you backwards, but how do you decide how you're going to pick which holes are the attack holes versus par holes if you decide to implement that strategy? That's where tip number 2 comes in. My second tip is that I would highly encourage you to play some putter-only rounds. Now, why putter-only rounds? Because I believe there are 2 results that we achieve every single time we are able to lock in and play a putter-only round. Well, let's use a hole as an example. Hole 2 has a lot of space out open to the left, and traditionally when I've played this course with other folks, they will take a fairway driver or something pretty fast and try to throw it out wide to the left to let it crash back in towards the target. The problem is this faster disc, if I do that and I overthrow it or I don't throw it well, let's say I even throw it well, but I put it far left, because it's that faster rim, it's going to skip when it hits the ground, which could cause a host of issues. However, in playing a putter only round, if the hole seems too far, I lower my expectations of can I reach it or can I not reach it, and I don't bring in the big skipping issues or the overshooting that's going to happen by throwing a faster disc. What we see here is that I can birdie this hole even with not having a great drive off the tee by throwing a putter. So if I walk into a hole and I lower my expectations because I think I can't reach it with a putter, well, suddenly I gain confidence because I can reach it with a putter, which helps me have more confidence in selecting a disc the next time. And also we know the slower speed disc you can throw on every hole, the more control you're gonna have over what that disc does at the end of its flight. So we want to learn, are there holes that I can actually reach with slower discs, but I'm sort of handicapping myself by only throwing faster discs because that's just what I throw in that hole. Playing putter only rounds will open up your mind to what shots you can actually accomplish with slower speed discs. And also, if you go out and have a bad putter only round, you were just playing with putters. So like you weren't supposed to score well anyways. So why are you upset? Now, unbeknownst to me off the tee, that hole also demonstrated our third tip, which is you don't always have to aim for the basket. When we think about approaching, most people, whether they want to acknowledge it or not, approach the game of disc golf like you would approach approaching in golf. Putting inside of golf is one of the most difficult skills out there because the greens always change. And even on the same course, a green can be different between different holes. So you are always trying to get the ball as close to the hole as humanly possible. The difficulty of putting in golf and putting in disc golf are entirely different because most disc golf greens don't have enough inhibitors that are going to keep you from having a standard putt while you're there. So often folks get so fixated on getting to the basket, taking the shortest line possible to do so, that they end up putting themselves in some precarious situations rather than playing to wider, safer space or wherever it may be and allowing yourself to have a little bit more work to do in terms of putting, but you put way less stress on the shot before, as well as bringing out a lot of the danger. For instance, on hole 6, the basket sits off to the right, up deep in the woods. If I'm trying to absolutely get pinned next to the basket, get as close as possible, I'm gonna take this Patriot, and I'm actually, rather than going out and around, it's never gonna stand a chance to get up there. So I'm gonna try to sneak it through this skinny gap on the right side because that is the most direct line possible. Fortunately, while it looked really good for a second, I didn't make it through, and I've tried to get through that gap many times, and I could have an easy up and down, but also there's a very real chance that I've got a lot of work left to do from there. Instead, I can take this justice because I'm not necessarily aiming to the pin, I'm aiming to the area around the pin. My target becomes so much larger. Now I can take a stress-free approach out into that wide open space and watch as the disc does the work and scoots up over to the basket. Aiming for the pin and failing and leaving lots of obstacles in my way versus playing into the wide open space that doesn't necessarily give me a direct line to the basket, but leaves myself with the opportunity to try to make a putt. And because I'm embracing tip 1 of playing for par, I actually feel significantly less pressure on this putt because I'm completely okay with pars. If I'm playing with amateur players or beginner players, they're gonna be nervous about this putt anyways. So by knowing that I'm great with the par, I take that pressure off, which should hopefully allow my body to relax, make a great putt, give myself a little internal chuckle as my friend threw it straight into the tree and struggled to get his par. And now, by just embracing 2 of these principles, I've gained a stroke on the field. There are so many areas around the basket that are not directly next to the basket that with minimal practice, I can secure the same score with half the risk. Now, before diving into the 4th tip, we have to thank the sponsor of today's video, and that is Foundation subscription boxes. Over at foundationdisc.com, you can get access to a premium subscription box package. These are themed boxes that come to you every month at a super affordable rate, bringing the discs inside to a low rate of $15, which is awesome because every single box includes at least 3 discs, with one of them guaranteed being custom stamped and a swag item every month. I've been using these discs all video, but if we take a look at it, you have a nice info card that tells you everything you need to know about the box. This month's box has a Justice, a custom stamped Legacy Patriot, and a really sick custom stamped Discraft Cicada. The swag item this month is actually a mini marker with the rebranded Foundation Nation stamp. This is what they're calling their fans, the Foundation Nation, and they finally have their own brand being unveiled first inside of this box. What's been amazing is that as support continues to grow for the box, creates even more opportunity for future theme options. All of the creators at Foundation have had their own theme box, and even last month's box was an introduction to disc dyeing box. So if you want access to this patriotic box, if you order it at the release of this video, July 13th, 31st, you can still access this box if you purchase your subscription box today. You're charged on the date of your subscription every month, and it's an incredible box every single month. So whether you're looking to try out new discs or you have a small collection and you're looking to grow it, knowing that someone's putting care and thought into every single disc that you're getting, the subscription box is the way to go. The fourth tip is another one of my favorites, and it's quite simply, don't make a bad hole worse. We all like, as the chick sang, wide open spaces, but sometimes you're gonna end up in tree jail. And the question is, what do you do when you find yourself in tree jail and you're already starting to get a little frustrated on that hole? If you want to know the sign between amazing players, great players, and average players, it's that the amazing players, it seems like you cannot put them in a bad position. And that comes from really one simple fact. They have the tools to scramble and get out of weird positions. So because they have a wider tool set, it's much harder to put them in uncomfortable situations. Now, this is quite simply just not true for amateurs or newer players. There are going to be opportunities where you just don't have the shot. And so when you find yourself in a bad situation, rather than trying to make the hero shot or something like that, understanding that, hey, I've already messed this hole up, don't let it haunt me even more, because while you may end up being able to overcome and take a bad score on that hole, for most people, the worst score you take, you're going to carry that baggage with you for several holes forward. And so now it's just not a bad hole, it's a bad series of holes, which leads to bad rounds. So if you spend more than 15 seconds looking around, crossing your fingers and hoping that you're going to find a way out, the best opportunity is just to look for the shortest path possible that's the most open, back to the fairway, pitch out, take your medicine, and live to fight another day. We've already talked about the fact that lots of amateurs struggle to get pars anyways, so it's okay if you mess up every now and again. Give yourself a little grace. Now, my last tip is probably, I'm gonna say, the most controversial in terms of all the tips we've given so far, but I think it needs to be said. Sometimes it's not actually you. Sometimes it is just the disc. For instance, in this foundation subscription box, of the 3 discs that are in here, there's a reason that you've seen me throw the Cicada more than you've seen me throw the Patriot. I'm not trying to say that the Patriot's a bad disc, but for some reason, me and the Patriot just aren't driving. So if there's a disc that you consistently know might be good for beginners, or you know it might be good for your game, but you can't seem to throw it well, because there are so many factors to a disc, the amount of dome on it, how small or large is the rim, how much is the bevel inside of the rim. There are so many factors that go into whether a disc can jive with you or not, beyond just how does it fly. A disc that I've known and loved for a long time is the Justice, which is why in this video, I've shown a lot of Justice demonstration shots. If you talk to disc golfers enough, almost every single one of us have a mold that we want to love or have tried to love several times, and it just finds its way in and out of the bag because it works really consistent for a little bit, and then it's really not consistent. Looking at you, end of a turn, man, we've had some great memories, and also, I've lost so many of you to water. If you find yourself consistently struggling with a disc, even if you're newer as a player, don't be afraid to move on. When I moved past the Aviar X3, I tried harps for a really long time, and I know there are people that absolutely love the harp. And I think the harp is an amazing disc. Unfortunately, the harp and I just can't seem to get along. And if I hadn't have been willing to move past it, I never would have found the Pig. And the Pig just feels like a disc that was made for me personally. So I'd love to know in the comments below, what's a mold that you've tried over and over again and it didn't really work out for you? And second, of the 5 tips that we just gave, which one kind of stands out to you the most? That is going to wrap it up for today's video. I hope these 5 tips were helpful. I really want you to be able to get out there and truly crush your friends in competition. But even if you maybe don't have friends that you play with on a regular basis, I hope that you can crush your previous records and goals that you set for yourself on the disc golf course. This is a game that we're never going to perfect, but we can always be improving at. And my hope is that by simply applying these 5 tips, you're going to start seeing lower scores in every single one of your rounds. So thank you so much for watching. Your support has allowed me to do this full time for the last 4 years. And if I'm going to go full cringe YouTuber, it would mean the world if you're willing to hit that bell to see future notifications if these tips resonated with you. So thank you as always for watching. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Please make it fantastic for someone else too. But for now, we're going to leave you with the birdie.